Brazilian Jiu Jitsu versus boxing. Which one of these two martial arts is the best for you to learn for self-defense? A lot of boxers will be saying boxing all day long. A lot of the Jiu Jitsu community will be saying Jiu Jitsu all day long. In this video, I'm going to be giving you the pros and cons of both boxing and Jiu Jitsu if you're ever in a street fight situation. Now, at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you which one I recommend you train and which ones I've got my kids training right now and why. And I think it will surprise you when I tell you. And if you're new to this channel, my name is Tony Jeffries. I'm an Olympic medalist boxer, former undefeated professional, European gold medalist, 7-time national champion. Let's get into it. Now, from my intro, you know that I've got a ton of boxing experience. I had 106 fights in my career. I started boxing in 1995. So when it comes to boxing, I know what I'm talking about. Now, Jiu Jitsu, on the other hand, I've got very little experience. I've been doing it for the last 3 months, but I've been very consistent, doing it 1, sometimes 2 times a day. And with Jiu Jitsu, I've been doing a lot of sparring, but again, I'm still a no stripe white belt and very new to it. Now, before I talk about the pros and cons of both, I just want to say, if you've got any experience in boxing or in Jiu Jitsu, I would say you're 10 times more likely to have success if you ever do get into an altercation outside. Even if the guy's bigger than you, if you've got some experience, it's way better than having zero experience. But even with different training methods, a lot of the times if you do get into a street fight, that goes out of the window. Not unless when you have been doing your boxing training or jiu-jitsu training, you're in these stressful situations. Like when I train, we spar hard all the time. So I'm used to being in these uncomfortable situations. So I know that is going to really help me if I ever do get into a street fight. The same with boxing. Because I've been in these stressful situations, everything won't go out the window. It'll come down to the instinct of, being in them situations that will help me if I ever do get into an altercation. The cons of jiu-jitsu in a street fight is if someone knows how to punch, you don't work on defending punches in jiu-jitsu and you're likely to get hit with that punch if you're not on your game and you're gonna go for the takedown straight away. As well, I think with jiu-jitsu, if you're training in the gi only, you kind of often need something to grip onto. Now in street fights, a lot of time people will not be wearing a big jacket or obviously not wearing a gi for you to be able to grip onto to get them chokes in. And now I guess another con with jiu-jitsu is because you're not getting punched in the face, you don't know what it's going to be like to get punched in the face. So when you do get punched in the face, you're going to get a big shock. And that right there can be the difference between winning and losing. Now, the goal is not to get punched in the face at all, but if it ever does happen, you kind of know what to expect with boxing, where jiu-jitsu you don't. Another con of just doing jiu-jitsu other than boxing is to have success in the street fight, you've got to take someone to the ground. Now, in actual jiu-jitsu, you're not used to punches coming at you. So if you're trying to take someone to the ground while they're punching you in the head, you're going to get hurt. So now the pros of jiu-jitsu in a street fight. If your fight ever gets up close like this, a boxer doesn't really know what to do because you're not really going to be pulling arms down and whipping in them body shots like you would do in a fight. But with jiu-jitsu, if you get close like this, they know straight away what they're going to do, how they're going to take you to the floor and control you and put you in a position what's very uncomfortable, that can put you to sleep. And if you think about it, a lot of fights do end up very close like this, where you're on top of each other if you don't land that first punch. Another big pro of jiu-jitsu is size really doesn't matter. If you've seen UFC 1, and I might be wrong saying this, but I think this is where jiu-jitsu got introduced to the American market, where there was Royce Gracie fighting some big monsters, fighting boxers, wrestlers, kickboxers, and he had a gi on and he went in there and he destroyed them all. And back then, UFC 1 was kind of like a street fighting situation. So you can see smaller guy can beat the big guy all day long in jiu-jitsu. And for me personally, who was like 6'1" and 190 pounds, when I went into jiu-jitsu and I started working with these guys with a little bit more experience than me, who was like 150 pounds and 5'8" tall, they were absolutely destroying me. I couldn't hold me home with them. I still cannot, because they've got that experience to know exactly how to handle a bigger guy. As well, with jiu-jitsu, you're getting comfortable with people hanging on your back with the arms around your neck, learning how to get out of that. So if someone does come from behind and gets you in a choke with jiu-jitsu, you kind of know how to deal with that and the best practices to do to get out of these situations. Another pro in jiu-jitsu is being in them stressful situations. Now, let's just say if you do end up on the floor and someone is on top of you, you know how to control it. You know how to control your breathing. Like, compare that to a boxer, wouldn't know how to control the breathing if someone is on top of them. Where in jiu-jitsu, you know exactly how to control your breathing and stay calm in these stressful situations. Now let's talk about the pros and cons of boxing for a street fight. Starting with the cons, a street fight gets close close, like I mentioned with the jiu-jitsu, or you end up on the floor, it's hard to really know what to do. When I start doing the jiu-jitsu, that was one of the most uncomfortablest parts for me, is being close to another human being where they're wrestling with you and pulling you around, and you don't know what to do in these situations. You kind of panic, hold your breath, try and push off, and you get tired really fast. So not knowing what to do when someone is very close to you is definitely a con for boxing in a street fight. Another con, you might think it's a pro, but I want to say it's a con, is with boxing in a street fight, we can throw that one punch and you can knock someone out like that, but the damage that you can do to them, comparing that to jiu-jitsu where you can control the damage in a street fight, with a punch, that one punch, you could end someone's life. They could fall, bang their head on the floor, and it could be over. Yes, I get you can end the fight fast, which is also one of the pros I'm going to talk about in a second, but as well, that can be a con because that's all we know. Then another huge con leading off from that is if we get took to the floor and we're on the ground and someone is on top of us, again, we've got no idea what we're going to do. We've got no idea how to hip escape and get on top and control them and put them in a position where they're uncomfortable and they've got to submit a tap. I guess you wouldn't tap in a street fight. You would just get, put to sleep and then control the person there. We don't know any of that stuff in boxing. Now moving on to the pros of boxing. Like I mentioned, you can end a fight like that. It's going to be over within a second. I remember seeing a video of a boxer, I think he was an Eastern European, walking through the street with his missus and some guy starting him, and he chins like 3 or 4 guys at once because he knows boxing. And that's all it really takes. That one good punch and it's game over. Another big pro for boxers is defensive punches. Someone's going to throw a punch at us. We know how to move out the way, how to slip, how to lean back, how to move our feet and get out the way and then come back with counter punches as well. Because 9 times out of 10, 19 times out of 20, in a street fight, someone's going to throw a punch. Now, because we've done boxing, we're used to punches coming at us, we can get out the way of that punch and come back with a punch of our own. So as you see, there is lots of pros and cons of both jiu-jitsu and boxing. Now, which one do I think you should train if you want to really learn about self-defense? Well, I'm going to tell you that, but real quick, I want to tell you about the sponsor of today's video. One thing that's really helping me is I've been taking Honor Shroom Tech before my training sessions, which when I do this, I feel a big difference. Joe Rogan has famously said that Shroom Tech Sports helps him squeeze in an extra roll at the end of his jiu-jitsu class.
I feel like it's not easy, but it gets me one extra roll. And at the end of it, where I'm like, wow, I feel all right.
It's designed to help the body with cellular energy and cardiovascular endurance. And I feel like it really gives me extra gear when I'm in there training. And what Honor are doing for all my subscribers is giving you a 7-day free trial of this Shroom Tech that is highly recommended by Joe Rogan and me. So if you want 7 days of this for free, click the link below and check it out. And also, if you want anything else from the Honor website, go to honor.com/boxing and get 10% off. But you should definitely get that free trial. Click the link below and check it out. Before I tell you which one I think you should be doing for self-defense, let me know which one you think is better for self-defense in the comments below. Since I started doing jiu-jitsu here in Los Angeles with Bruno Valdivino, even though it's been a short period of time, I feel like it's really changed my life. And confidence is something that I don't really lack when it comes to fighting because of all my boxing experience. But this, it does give me that extra bit of confidence if I need it. But what should you start doing? Now, I highly recommend you do both. With boxing, you can kind of learn that yourself at home on a bag with a partner on the mitts. With jiu-jitsu, I would recommend you go to a jiu-jitsu studio. They're everywhere these days, and try and do 50-50 of both. Let's say if you can only work out twice a week, I would do 1 day jiu-jitsu, 1 day boxing. Really split it in half. And my 3 daughters are now doing jiu-jitsu, and I absolutely love it for them. As a parent, I do worry about my kids getting attacked. And if they get attacked from behind with more experience with jiu-jitsu, they'll really know what to do. Yes, I'm teaching them some boxing as well, but the jiu-jitsu is, I think, going to be a game changer for them in their life. Now, if you want to learn how to throw a correct punch, I created this video here so you'll know how to punch correctly. Click here and watch this video next.